ready for some yoga, Ava? You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get started in child's pose. Let's get started. If you have some blocks or some props handy, grab those of course, but you don't need them. We'll make everything doable. We're starting in child's pose, taking the knees nice and wide and just letting gravity take hold. This is a great stretch for the tops of your feet. And just take the shoulder blades down the back so you don't feel like you just want that nice length. Gorgeous. And then nice and easy. Come on up to tabletop pose. So bring the knees underneath the hips. And then we're going to curl your toes under and go right into toe breaker. So the knees come a little bit closer together. And again, there are some modifications with toe breaker. If this is not doable in your body as it is today, you can put a brick or a pillow or something underneath there to kind of take the edge off. How is that?
That's good.
Good. Of course, you want to try to hold the stretch for, ideally, it would be about 90 seconds, but for us today, we're just going to give it a couple more breaths here. You want to pay attention to the little pinky toes too. They can kind of get lost or stuck under the foot, and so we don't want to create any problems. Just really make sure that that is comfortable for you. Okay, great. Nice and easy. You can remove the brick if you're using one and take it back out and just tap the tops of the feet. Would always do this after, just as a nice release for the tops of the feet. Beautiful. And then Ava's going to go ahead and sit on her heels. And we're going to take her hands behind her and we're going to stretch her ankles. So keeping the knees together, gently lean back, and you can see right here the ankle joint is getting that really sweet stretch. Again, not 90 seconds on this one, and don't try to be a hero here. Don't try to pull those knees up really high. You'll just end up really crunching your ankles. Just a nice ease so you're feeling a stretch, but it's not overwhelming. That's always where you kind of want to be. You want to ride that edge. All right, nice and easy. How's that feel?
That was good.
Okay. Cat and cow, back in tabletop. So just a really nice fluid movement back and forth in cat and cow. Really nice for the spine, pulling those ribs up, sort of alerts the core and informs that. Always a good idea, even if you're not going for a run or not even planning to do first thing you get up in the morning, sweet to do for your spine. Great. And then from here, straight spine, curl all 10 toes under, and we're going to come into downward facing dog. So priceless for the Achilles and the bottoms of the feet. Ava's going to pedal out. So ideally, you want your feet at hips width distance. We tend to be pretty narrow when we get into this pose. It's not a deal breaker, but it's better just to give that nice alignment. And let your head hang, let your shoulder blades lift so your neck is nice and free. Yeah, and just kind of pedal it out. You can take it sideways a little bit so she can turn her heel, yeah, and kind of sway the hips back and forth. Really nice to do. It kind of gets the whole line. There's really no wrong way to do this. So whatever feels good for you is what you should do. But again, calves, Achilles, bottoms of the feet, that fascia gets really tight as runners, and this is a great way. So holding dog, we're going to just take it forward and find plank right at the top of a push-up. And I always do this a couple of times a day. Lift the hips, and then inhale as you come forward to plank. Exhale as you lift up. It sort of gets the core awake and gives a little heat for the body, so when we do stretch, it's coming from a place of warmth. One more time, inhale forward, and then we're going to take it all the way down to belly. And now we're going to take out, Ava, why don't you scoot down a little bit towards your feet. We're going to put the forearms down on the mat into what we call Sphinx pose, which will be pretty obvious why it's called that. And then bring your elbows in. So you want to park your elbows directly underneath your shoulders. Palms down, relax your bum, relax the top of the feet, and then energetically try to drag yourself forward. So what we're trying to stretch, of course, is the back, but the collarbones as well, right? When we're running, it's forward. If you get fatigued, opening that gateway. This is a really nice pose, especially if you've been on your computer or your phone a lot. Spine is lifted. Nice and easy, beautiful. And then as you exhale, come on down and just bring your arms by the sides of your body, and we're just going to take locust pose. So we're going to lift up the legs and lift up the arms. So normally when we think of core, everybody thinks front. This is great for the back body, and runners need that strength back there. So don't tweak the neck out, look down. There you go. We want a nice, long, easy spine, and then take a rest, let it all hang down, turn your head to either side, and just rest. So that locust is all you really need. If you want to take it up to another notch, we'll take your hands and interlace them behind the back, either direction. Cup your palms like you're holding a little tiny egg, and then lift back up, legs lift. Now the idea for us is not to turn these glutes on at 100%. Try to leave them a little bit mushy. That's going to free the back up, especially if you tend to be crunchy in your lower back. Beautiful. So a nice easy stretch. Collarbones are broad, nose is facing down, but the chest is still lifted. Yes. And then take it down. Exhale. Beautiful. Place the hands by the side. We're going to come into a little cobra pose. So torso stays down. Beautiful. Elbows touch in, collarbones open, lungs stretched. Gorgeous. And then find your way to downward facing dog. Nice. And then get a little, like a pedal back and forth. Nice. Shake out your head, let your head hang. So the head weighs about 8 to 10 pounds, and you're dragging that around all day, and especially when you're running, so give it a second, right? And then look towards the top of the mat, and then we're gonna walk to the top of the mat. Beautiful. And a nice halfway lift as you inhale, and then fold it back down as you exhale. Do that again. Actually, we'll do that a couple times. Inhale, lift, and exhale, fold. So we're stretching, of course, the hamstrings. Every time we come forward, give it another inhale, lift. And we want a nice flat back, like you could rest a drink on that back. Exhale, fold. Take your hips a little forward. One more time, just a halfway lift as you inhale. And then fold as you exhale. Beautiful. And then just vertebrae by vertebrae, just let the spine crawl up so you're up to standing. Pull the belly in, kneecaps are lifted, gorgeous. And then just shake out the arms a little bit. And then put your right hand at the right side of your hip, left arm up and over for the side stretch. So we want to make sure you're not sitting in your back, so belly pulls in, tailbone down, and then a big old side stretch, and then switch sides. Pull the belly in, tailbone down. Because if you sit in your lower back, you're missing a lot of anatomy that could get stretched. And that's really common to do because you're tired and you're not really maybe feeling it today for whatever reason. Exhale and down. So we're going to take a forward fold, and Ava's going to step her left foot back so she's in a low lunge. So step the right foot forward a little bit more, and then drop that back knee down the left knee, and then put both of your hands onto your right thigh. Nice. So we're going to stretch out the psoas and the hip flexor components. Shoulders are relaxed. One of the things that we're going to really focus on as we stretch out the hip flexor is normally when we come forward, I see a lot of this, people sitting in their low back. What I'm going to have Ava do is make sure her pelvic bowl stays level, like you're a fish bowl, and that's not going to change. And then she's going to descend down, but not in the ribs, right? Do you feel that in the front of your left hip? So you can keep your right hand right where it is, and now take that same side stretch. Left arm goes up and over, but keep that nice consistency here so you're really feeling that whole left side. Beautiful. And then take that hand down, and then both hands down to the floor, and we'll swap sides. You can just step back, perfect, and then step forward. Same thing here. Again, we don't want to sit down in this. We want nice, beautiful. And when you feel balanced, take that opposite arm up. That would be the right one this time. And that same thing, it's almost like you're trying to drag this forward a little bit, but the body resists that direction. A key is to really engage that left heel and the top of your right foot to help balance. So if you feel wonky, those are two ways to give you a little bit more inherent stability. Do you feel this? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then nice and easy, hands down, and downward dog. And so you just kind of pedal that out. And then what we're going to do is take it forward to one plank, top of a push-up. We're going to come all the way down to belly. Put our hands nice by our rib cage. Nope, just you had it right. Lift up for a cobra pose, shoulder blades down, stretch that belly, stretch the front of the chest, and then back to downward dog. Beautiful. This time we're going to step the right foot forward in between your hands, and we're going to come up to a lunge. So that same thing applies as it relates to the pelvic bowl. Just as a default, we come up, we're stretched like this because things are tight. So what I'm going to have Ava do is bend this back knee, just bend the back knee like you're trying to get that knee down. That will help you with this alignment. And then slowly start to straighten that left leg without moving the pelvis. That's the key. Do you feel that? Mm-hmm. And that'll help to really stretch that anatomy out. That's a tough spot for runners right there. Beautiful. You can take your arms up towards the sky for one big old stretch up. And then hands back down to the floor, downward dog, step it back, and then give it a second, and then take your left foot forward. Nice and easy. Lift. So take this back knee and bend it to start, because if you're tight, tailbone goes down, front ribs are in, shoulder blades are down, right? And then slow and easy, you start to straighten that leg, and all of that fascia and tissue in the front of the hip gets a chance to stretch. But like I said, if you're coming from a place of a big bend, not so much of a stretch. You feel that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice and easy. Both hands down, step to a dog, and just I always try to let everything equalize between sides, just kind of an even, coming from a place of even. And then look towards your hands, walk your feet towards the top of the mat, and then do that nice same roll up, pull the belly button in, roll. Okay, so we're gonna go into tree pose. So she's gonna externally rotate her right foot into, ideally, the upper left thigh. That might not be doable. Tree pose is okay here. It's okay with your toes down. It is not okay to push on the medial knee. You never want pressure from your foot pushing that way. That will do more harm than good. Same story applies. Tailbone is down, front ribs are in, eyes rest. Really good for balance, plus it's a free core strength and hip opener. If you fall out of it, you fall out of it. A secret to success in this pose is pushing this foot into that thigh and letting the thigh resist it. And that helps to build stability most of the time. All right, why don't we switch legs? So just shake it out a little bit, and then we'll go to the left one. So left knee comes in. This is really nice too, just to set the tone. I always try, because we tend to come into tree the same story, right? We're like here. But if you bring your knee in, it almost forces the lower back to straighten out, and then you move it into an external pose. So move that foot to the thigh. Again, if you can't touch, if this angle is too much, as it is for many people, put the foot here or on the ground or on a brick. Just don't push on that inner knee. So Ava's first thing is the butt goes out, the front ribs in. So tailbone down. And it's hard to do if you don't do this a lot. And we're on carpet, which is more difficult. Beautiful. So if this is super easy for you and you do want to make your balance, or challenge your balance, I should say, you look horizontally would be the next step. Looking up at the ceiling is the next step. And the third step, if you can take it, is closing your eyes. I do one eye at a time. Just play with it, you'll see what I mean. Beautiful, and let it go. Shake it out, and then I'll have you step back at the top of the mat. Both arms rise as you inhale. Let's stretch that out and take a fold as you exhale. So we're gonna have you step your left foot back for lizard pose, and the right foot forward. So this pose is a beast, I'm not gonna lie, but it is really key. And I'm sorry, put your knee down and put both of your hands now are gonna be inside of your right foot, because that's the leading foot for Ava in this pose at this moment. So there are many ways to modify what we're gonna do here, but you're gonna feel this for her right now in her right inner groin. And that will get progressively more of a stretch as we keep moving. So this is our first krama, the first stage. If this is difficult for you, what you're going to do is build up on books, whatever you need. As you see, her knee is above her ankle, slightly behind. Do not let that knee pass overhead. The shearing on the sides of the knee is difficult, and we don't want to mess anything up. So toes are relaxed. Next stage from here is to curl her back toes under and float that knee. Beautiful. Now, as you get more and more flexible, you can lose the brick. Now, one of the things that happens if you're tight, keep pulling this right hip back, is you're going to notice is that your spine is going to start to round as things get more challenging. And this is what I see a ton of, like this kind of a situation. That's not helping anything. You want your collarbone stretch forward, think of that Sphinx pose, right? And then the next stage from here would be forearms down. You can always put that back knee down. See, notice how she's curling even more. That tells me she's really tight here. And this is difficult for her. So we're going to keep her with long arms. Try putting that back knee down and see what happens there. And then take forearms down. That's probably going to be a little bit easier. How does that feel?
Yeah, that's better than...
Okay. So there's the modification for that. But if you're starting to round here and you're looking at your toes at the back of the mat, you're curling the spine and you're taking away the stretch. So modify it so you can keep those components really active. Okay, step it back. We won't hold the second side as long. And then step the left foot forward. So same setup. Knee is over the ankle, even though you probably can't see it that well. Curling those toes under. Most important, heart stays forward, spine stays nice and long, and the rib cage and the collarbones are open. And then next level with long arms. And there's nothing that you need to do to advance this pose. I offer options in case you're not getting a stretch here, right? So if you're like, oh my gosh, and have the flop sweat going, there's no need to move on. You can always drop the back knee as long as you're feeling something is what we're looking for. And then again, if you want to come down to forearms, but again, notice how she started to round. It's okay, it's normal. Try to drop your heart and then send those collarbones. Beautiful. So it looks like you're tighter on this side than you are on the other side.
Yeah.
Nice, nice and easy. This time we're going to take the left arm outside of the leg and then step it back. Yeah. So that's lizard pose. It goes by a couple of different names. Your inner thighs will know it when they're having it though. Okay, downward facing dog. And then just pedal that out. And again, notice how quickly she always has a narrow stance here. So widen those feet out. And then we're going to take them so wide. And then she's going to walk and actually just hang here for a second just to straighten out your spine. If this pulls, you bend your knees. There's nothing wrong with bent knees. Everyone always like rounds in their spine. Bend those knees. Give your hamstrings a chance to stretch out. And then walk your hands to your feet and come into Malasana Yogic Squat. So a nice wide stance. She's going to drop down and lift up the spine. Priceless for runners. So we just stretch out the inner groin, so that will help, but this will be really nice for the shin, the feet, and that whole gateway. So you can sit in a pose like this when you're done with your run. Give it a couple minutes though. Don't just stop running and flop into this pose. Walk around, get a little bit of water once you've cooled down. It's a great stretch to do. You can hold on to the side of your car or tree if your balance isn't as great as this. But we want to keep the toes light, right? Not digging with the toes, spine lifted. It's always the same story in yoga. We just move you around in different shapes, but the story stays the same. And we'll give it another breath or two. Perfect. And then take a forward fold. And then parallel your feet, right? And just a nice, easy fold. Let that head hang. And if you can't touch the ground, put your hands on your shins or your knees or something that gives you some ease in a pose. And then nice and easy, just give me a halfway lift. And then fold it back down. Another halfway lift. This always just lengthens the hamstrings. Fold it back down. And this time, sit your bum down. And then lay down onto the mat. And we're going to do a figure four, which should be something you guys know all too well. So I like that her foot is flexed right away, so the shin that's closest to your heart, that foot's always flexed. I flex both of them, because why not stretch out that Achilles while you're here? It's a freebie, as we say. Hold this for a couple of breaths, and then we're going to go into what's called cow face pose or Gomugasana. And then undo your hands, keep the legs the same, just cross that top leg over the bottom.
To go this way.
No. So just take the legs, there you go. If you are super tight, the heels will stay closer to your torso. If you can, it's like a bicycle handlebars, old-fashioned bike. Ideally, we want these knees close to the belly, but that may not be allowed in the outer hips. This is a great pose. This is top of the IT band. Really important if you can have a couple of minutes of your day, especially after a long run. What it does is move it laterally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're moving that thigh across the body. And when you're running, it's always forward. Beautiful. Unwrap, we'll take a little happy baby between sides, or if you want to hug your knees in instead. Perfect. And then we'll start with figure 4 on the other side. Flex that foot, thread the needle. Always a good idea. So very similar to a standing tree, except now we don't have any core or any balance factor, but we still have an external rotation in that hip. And just breathe through it, close your eyes, relax your shoulders. The more you can relax in a pose, the better the benefits are. If you're really tense and you're fighting for a stretch that's not coming, the body knows it and kind of resists it, so just ease into it. Beautiful. And then undo the threading. Top leg comes over the bottom. Yeah, I always curl up a little to grab my shins. Again, we want to be down and a little bit laterally. You want like gravity taking you down here a little bit. Because you can just sit there with your legs crossed too, but let's make it worth your while. And breathe through it. Give it another breath. Be mindful if you're so tight. Sometimes I see with my students their jaw clenching. You can see it in their neck usually. So it's better to back off, make it nice and relaxed, and you'll see your body will be much more supple and willing to move into these shapes. Beautiful. Unwrap, take a happy baby, and then we're going to go into windshield wiper. Ava's got a tough spot there right next to the sofa. So what we're just going to do is just take the legs back and forth. And one at a time. You kind of want to be, kind of exaggerated, and let them be floppy back and forth. That helps your lower back if you tend to be tight back there, and gives your hips some nice rotation in the socket. Beautiful.